Welcome back to the channel. Today we're looking at something that nobody expected to return. A car that carries decades of history, nostalgia, and old-school character. But what if that classic legend came back with modern technology and serious performance? What if one of the most iconic Soviet cars suddenly transformed into a machine capable of surprising today's automotive world? Meet the new 2026 LADA 2101, classic on the outside, beast on the inside. And trust me, what you're about to see might completely change the way you look at this legendary little car. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand why a vehicle many people once saw as simple transportation could suddenly become one of the craziest retro comeback stories ever imagined. Let's get into it. The LADA 2101 wasn't just a car. For millions of people, it represented an entire era. It became one of the most recognizable vehicles across Eastern Europe and many parts of the world. Back in the day, it was famous for being simple, affordable, reliable, and easy to repair. You didn't need expensive equipment, you didn't need complicated electronics, you just needed basic tools and a little patience. That simplicity made people fall in love with it. Generations grew up seeing these cars on city streets, country roads, and family trips. Even today, many enthusiasts still restore and modify old LADA models because the car carries a personality that modern vehicles sometimes seem to lose. But now imagine taking that emotional classic design and giving it modern power. That's where things start getting interesting. At first glance, the new 2026 LADA 2101 still keeps its soul alive. You immediately recognize the classic boxy shape. You immediately notice those old-school proportions. But then you start seeing the details. And suddenly this isn't your grandfather's LADA anymore. The front end now looks much more aggressive. The headlights have evolved into sharp LED units that give the car a modern personality while keeping the retro feel alive. The front grille appears wider and sportier. The bumper design feels lower, sharper, and much more muscular. Then your eyes move toward the side profile. The wheel arches appear wider. The body sits lower to the ground. Large sport wheels fill the arches perfectly, and suddenly the once humble little LADA starts looking more like a street fighter. It almost feels like somebody took a classic car and secretly injected it with pure adrenaline. But here's where things get even better. Because some of the coolest features are hidden in the small details. Look closely and you'll notice redesigned door handles with a cleaner modern appearance. The rear lighting now has a more futuristic signature. Aerodynamic touches are integrated throughout the body. And imagine a dual sport exhaust setup hiding under the rear bumper. At idle it stays calm. But once you step on the throttle, everything changes. And now we reach the part everybody has been waiting for. What's under the hood? Because appearance alone isn't enough. If you're calling something a beast, it better act like one. Now imagine a modern turbocharged engine setup living under that classic body. Picture around 250 to 300 horsepower, maybe even more in a performance version. Now think about this for a second. The original LADA 2101 wasn't built around massive power. It was small. It was lightweight. So combine lightweight construction with modern performance, and suddenly things become crazy. 0 to 60 could happen in well under 6 seconds, maybe even faster. Imagine pulling up beside modern performance sedans. People look over and see an old-school LADA. They smile. They think it's just another vintage car. Then the light turns green, and suddenly they're staring at your taillights. That would be absolutely insane. But the transformation doesn't stop there. Step inside and you'll immediately realize this is a completely different world. Forget the old plastic dashboard. Forget basic gauges. Forget simple controls. Now imagine a fully digital display sitting behind the steering wheel. Imagine modern graphics and customizable driving information. A larger touchscreen system dominates the center console. Wireless connectivity allows seamless smartphone integration. Premium materials replace old surfaces, soft touch panels, sport seats, modern stitching. ambient lighting flowing across the cabin. But what makes it really interesting is the possibility of mixing retro design elements with modern technology, because keeping some vintage details would preserve the personality that made the original special. Old meets new, classic meets future. Now let's imagine driving this thing. Picture yourself moving through city streets. People turn their heads because they recognize the shape. Older drivers feel nostalgia. Younger people wonder what car just passed by. Then you hit an open road. You press the accelerator. The turbo starts building boost. The exhaust note becomes deeper. The car pulls harder and harder. Corners arrive. The lower suspension keeps everything planted. The steering feels sharper. The lightweight body changes direction quickly. Suddenly, you're no longer driving an old-school economy car. You're driving something that feels alive. Something with character. Something modern, but still carrying history. Now comes an interesting question. Could this new LADA actually compete against modern rivals? Because today's market is incredibly competitive. There are compact sports cars, performance hatchbacks, modern sedans loaded with technology. But here's the thing. Most cars today start looking similar. Large screens, aggressive styling, complicated systems. Many cars feel like copies of each other. A retro-inspired LADA with modern performance could offer something different, something unique, something people remember. And then we arrive at price. Imagine if LADA somehow managed to keep the cost reasonable. That combination of performance, nostalgia, and affordability could become extremely attractive. But now the biggest question remains. Could a modern LADA actually succeed globally? Would people embrace a classic legend reborn for the future? Or would enthusiasts still prefer the original old-school machine? That's where I want to hear your opinion. Would you drive the new 2026 LADA 2101, or would you keep the classic version exactly the way it is? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, subscribe and turn on notifications because we've got more insane automotive legends coming soon. See you in the next one.